How y'all doing tonight? What's going on? Thanks for the likes, for the comments. Waiting for a couple people to get up in here. And we're going to talk some business. We are going to talk. What's up, Tamika? What is going on? I hope your night's going all right. Your day went good. I'm just getting settled. Going to talk to y'all about some information I came across. The Tarot Detective. Hey, how you doing? How are you doing? Yes, I do have an email. It is Marcel, Marcel at raymarcel.com. So it's Marcel, Marcel at raymarcel.com. It's also linked in some of my other videos too. Actually, yep. So email is Marcel, Marcel at raymarcel.com. At raymarcel.com. Hey, what's up, Nicole? You got the email? All right, good. Nicole, True Crime Nicole's in here. We were talking about some things earlier. I told her about some information I came across, and she told me, and we're trying to put them together as best as we can without giving out too much info without getting in trouble. Let's put it that way. Hold on real quick. All right. So I know we all been trying to figure out, what's been going on with Kada and Keon. All right, thanks. I'll be looking forward to your email then. I'll read that. Thanks a lot. For anybody ever wants to send me an email, any tips, anything like that, go ahead. I keep your name anonymous. I don't tell nobody who you are or any of that, I want to keep my credibility and not only that, keep you safe. So, real quick. All right, so we all have been sitting here, trying to figure out what's going on with Keon and Kada and everything else, right? Um, there's some stuff that I'm going to get into in a bit about some evidence that I don't think nobody thought of. I'm going to get into that I think they have evidence of something that they're probably not putting the paperwork and they probably aren't going to, because usually they don't hit you with it until almost trial time. Um, and then not only that, so as you see right here, it says I spoke with an inmate that's in the same jail. What's good? What's good? Good evening to you too. What's good? So, um, I still got some ties that are out there in the streets, right? Because for y'all know, I was locked up myself. So I still got some ties that are out there in the streets. So I reached out to somebody, and then that person was like, "Hey, I can get you in, contact with somebody who is locked up actually with him." I was like, "Yeah, give him my number, tell him to call me." So yeah, I was like, give me my number, give him my number, tell him to call me or whatever, right? So he called me now. We spoke. Now there's not too much he could say because it's a recorded line. And not only that, before he even called me, I even told him not to say too much because it's a recorded line. I didn't want to get him in trouble or anybody else in trouble because when you start saying too much, you can get a tampering charge. I've got one of those before. Speaking too much on the recorded line, I got a tampering charge, and that's a felony. So I got that. So excited to hear the new information. Hey, thanks for joining us, Julia. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're feeling better too. So he told me that And if you ever been locked up before, sometimes being in a facility, you'll find information out faster than us and we're outside, but they get the information faster than we do. Because a lot of times the paperwork is floating around the jail and they're just passing it around. And that's who they know who's ratting, who's snitching, that they know all that stuff before we even do sometimes, right? So what he was saying was that there's an informant on the case. Somebody's pretty much given up information. They all know who it is. Even he knows who it is. Like I said, he couldn't tell me on the phone, and I didn't want him to tell me the name on the phone because you can get a tampering charge. Even if he did tell me, I wouldn't put that information out there just yet or anything like that unless it became public as well. So far, there's supposed to be an informant. Um, what I can tell you is informants not locked up; they're out in the street still. So whoever it is, they're still out there. You didn't watch from the start. Hey, don't worry about it. I just started. I just started. So I'm talking about Kada Scott case. I spoke with a inmate who's actually in there with Keon. And for you guys who don't know, Keon's the one that's arrested for unaliving Kada right now. And we also know there was two other individuals that was caught on video, right? Well, the inmate told me that everybody in the jail knows that somebody's pretty much out there telling. Somebody said something, they even know who the person is. They know. Um Now, are they keeping a person a secret? Obviously, yes. They're going to keep them a secret. They're not going to put them on paperwork. They're going to keep their name private. They're going to do as much as they can to hide their identity unless they have to go into trial and point fingers. It just all depends. I was explaining this, me and Nicole talked earlier, me and True Crime Nicole, right? And I was telling her there's different type of informants that you have. The reason why I know this because when I got in trouble, I had an informant. But there's different types of informants that you have out there. And one informant is one type of informant is they're almost pretty much on like a payroll, you can say, to where, and a lot of times these informants will work for the FBI or the feds. So what they'll do is, let's say they get busted with something and they got a lot of information, right, that they can give out. And what they'll pretty much do is almost like put them under contract. They'll let them back out in the street and they'll tell them, hey, anybody you bring to us or anything you do, you kind of get a percentage of it. So let's say, they make a big drug bust, all because of this informant has wiretaps or something like that. And the drug bust, let's say, was $100,000 drug bust. Well, that informant might get a little cut of that drug bust. So it keeps that informant, clean and also keeps him pretty much going around telling still, right? So you have that's one type. The other type of informant is the one who almost doesn't have leverage. There's no leverage to them. So let's say they get caught out in the street, nickel and diamond, on a block, the corner, or whatever it is, and maybe it's about to be their third strike on them, and they don't want to get no time. They don't want to go to jail. So then the police come with them like, "Hey, you're the little guy. If you give us the big guy who you supplying, we'll cut you a deal." And the little guy's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll take that deal." He'll go back out, set the big guy up, literally set him up. Now, that little guy is pretty much always going to be an informant and be looked at. The cops will always have him on his radar. He thinks he's free and clean. He can go out, hey, I'm out in the streets, I'm doing what I want. I told on him and nobody pretty much knows, but if he gets in trouble again, the cops is on his tail again. And then what they're going to do is they're going to do the same thing all over again. Hey, you're in trouble again for doing this. So I'll tell you what, we're going to cut you another deal. What can you do? So you have these different type of informants that are out there. And a lot of times that first one I told you about, who's almost like that paid one, you'll never know. They'll never step in court. Their name will never be on the paperwork. It's almost like they're a real undercover cop. You're never going to know who they are. That second informant, now sometimes they can be on the stand and they can be pointing you out. Now, every state has a different law when it comes to this too, right? Good morning, Ray. So awesome being on live with you, Fugitive TV family with love. Johannesburg, South Africa. South Africa's in the building. All right, oh, bro, South Africa's here. Ain't that something? I'm reaching out to South Africa. But you have these different types of the informants I was telling you about. And like I said, I got caught up in one. It was actually my friend. Well, was my friend. And they got paid. They got paid for pretty much turning me in when I first got into trouble. Um, they weren't on my paperwork whatsoever. I didn't even know it was him. He was when I first got arrested, he was visiting me while I was in jail. Ain't that something? He told on me, got paid, and was visiting me while I was in jail. I didn't even know it was him until some dots got put together and we kind of connected. Oh, and it was funny thing is when we connected, it was him. Like everybody kind of like, that's him. He stopped visiting me. Stopped accepting phone calls. I didn't get no letter. I got nothing on my commissary. So it was like he found out. He knew. I ain't heard from him again since then, or whatever. But that's pretty much how a lot of them will work. A lot of them work these backhanded deals with the police, and you'll never know who they are. Now, are we ever going to figure out who's telling? Probably not. We probably aren't. I'll be honest with you. We probably not. Um, this also goes back to the theory of the tipster calls, how they kept saying these tipsters were calling in with the exact evidence. So now I'm wondering if it really was somebody that's tipping them off. Think about that. They're not going to tell the media it's an informant telling them. They're not going to tell the media that. The media gets their information from law enforcement, right? These tipsters are not calling the media like, hey, they're calling a certain number, which is law enforcement. And then law enforcement relays that information to the media. So now I'm wondering if whoever gave that information is really the person that's telling or the informant. And that's just the information they gave to the media. So the media can say, hey, this tipster, but really is no tipster. It could be an informant. You know, I'm not saying that's the case, but it makes me wonder if that's what's going on. Um, all Philly in here. All right. Give you a little shine. Glad to see Philly in here representing. Glad to see you representing over here. I'm not from Philly, but I got y'all back on this. I got y'all back. Um, So yeah, I talked to him, to the person that's locked up with him, and that's what he told me. He did give me a little more info that he could give, but I can't give it out right now because I want to see if it's true. I don't want to put out there any false information or any false claims first. You know, that's not how I operate. I want to make sure it's backed first before I put it out, anything like that. But as far as the informant goes, it just made a lot of sense. Made a lot of sense when he said there's a format because I had a feeling that I had a feeling. I was like, somebody's saying something, but the problem is we don't know who. Now, on the paperwork, they did drop names, right? They dropped names. They dropped the two women. Um, I really don't think it could be them because they dropped their names. You know, usually when people are informing, they're not going to put their names on the paperwork like that because now they're in danger, right? So anything can happen to them. So they could be in danger. Um, Now, there's some evidence that I think nobody really thought about, right? And at first, I didn't think about this either. I didn't really think about this evidence at first. And then it just hit me. Sometimes stuff just hits me like, oh yeah. A lot of times maybe because I've been through something personal with that type of thing. And I have to, oh yeah, that happened to me. Well, I'm gonna explain something a little bit to you guys. So you have you have forensics, right? And everybody knows about forensics and they're trying to get DNA samples and samples from the crime scene. We all know if somebody shoots off a pow pow or a weapon, right? The forensics, the powder can be on your sleeve. It can be on your skin. Depending on what you're using to blast, it can be all over you. So we're all familiar with that type of forensics when it comes to forensics. But there's another type of forensics that a lot of people don't think about, and a lot of people get caught by this. And I'm wondering if they have this in the evidence, which they probably do, and they're not going to say anything yet about it because this is going to connect whoever drove that black Hyundai accent last to get burnt, it will definitely connect them to the area of dirt that they found Kada. All right. So, they can do forensics on dirt. If you ever go to crime school or CSI school, they say one of the first piece evidence to look for is dirt because dirt almost has its own DNA. I know somebody that got caught trying to bury somebody, and you're never going to look up a case, first of all, where somebody digs a grave 6 feet deep. I don't know if you guys ever did any shovel work. Digging a grave is not easy. It is hard, especially digging that deep. So, like how they said they found her in a shallow grave, it makes sense because digging deep is not easy. A lot of people start digging, and the next thing you know, they're like, "Oh man, this is getting tired. I'm tired. I'm done." So, we all know it's a shallow grave. Now, what did they use to dig? They're not saying that. You notice that wasn't in the paperwork. They never said if they found a shovel or anything like that, right? But I know somebody that off somebody, terminated somebody, pretty much tried to take them out to the woods or the mountains, and they tried to do the same thing. They tried to bury him, right? You know how they got caught? The dirt. They went into his house, and when they searched his house, first of all, they didn't have a search warrant at first, right? The police showed up and the guy had his garage door opened up. So when the garage door was opened up, police, of course, they didn't go in the garage, but they're looking around. What did they see in the garage? A shovel. That shovel was enough evidence that they seen for them to go back to the judge and get a search warrant. So of course they come back that same night with a search warrant, take that shovel for evidence. Then they go into his car. They get his floor mats, take the floor mats out for evidence. What happens? The dirt on the shovel matches the dirt where they found the body at. The dirt on the floor mat matches the dirt where they found the body at. Now, that car, a lot of people were focusing on, which they probably did too, whoever burnt the car, right? If it was Keon and them, let's burn this car up and get rid of the blood splatter, DNA, whatever it is, and then get it smashed up. But what about the dirt that's in the carpet? You could set dirt, dirt can almost, you have to do your research when it comes to dirt and burning. You can burn dirt all you want to. It ain't going nowhere. It's still going to be there. It might You might lose some sort of evidence from it, like fingerprints. But the thing about the dirt, it might just turn into dust, but it's still going to have its DNA of the dirt that it came from. So I'm willing to guarantee you that when they found out that car was smashed, because they did go to where that car is at. Remember, they went. I guarantee you, they still went inside that car some sort of way, whether it's cutting it open and they pulled some carpets out. If there was mats, I'm guarantee you they pulled some mats out. And I will willing to bet that they got some sort of forensic sample out of that carpet or that dirt. And they're just not saying anything because they're not going to say it. They're going to hit you with it last. That's their leverage. They're going to use it for, let's say Keon's lawyer wants to get a deal going, right? Let's see here. Read some of these comments. Remember the video when Kata's friend was walking around and she mentioned the chicken spot? Well, Kata supposedly ate chicken. Did she go there before and got food before that? I mean, that's a good question about the chicken spot. Good question. If anybody knows about the chicken spot, let me know. Yeah. Yeah. So right here, I'm gonna read your comment. They burnt the car up with evidence, I heard. That's what we all heard. But you can't burn dirt. It don't work that way. So If you right now got somebody to clean your car and you got a bunch of dirt in the carpet, you're never going to get 100% of that dirt out. Never. It's never going to come out. If you go to CSI school or something like that and you get a real good teacher, they're going to tell you one of the first things to look for is if they have a vehicle and there's some sort of grave or dirt involved, go to the vehicle, go to the carpet. It's never going to come out. All of it. It's still going to be left there. Only way to take it all out is pretty much to take the whole carpet out and remove it. You're never going to get it all out. We just can't see it with our eyes. But if you take a sand, like if you get sand in your carpet, right? Nobody never gets all the sand out ever. It's hard to get sand on a carpet. We all know this is tried to vacuum the car. Now I have a cleaning business, and part of my cleaning business is I have guys that do mobile detail. And I'm here in Florida where there's beaches and sand everywhere. And we have to tell people we can never get 100% of the sand out. It doesn't work that way. A vacuum is not going to vacuum it out. We literally have to take a massager that vibrates, put that massager onto the carpet, and then you see the sand jumping out of the carpet that you didn't even see with your eyes. Now you see it jumping out, and you got to try and vacuum it that way. One hand on the massager that's vibrating, the other hand using like a shop vac or a vacuum to try and get the dirt out or the sand out, and you're still not getting it all out. You got it. You got it. And the mineral part is the DNA of the dirt, the rocks. They all have their own. So, and if you go back and look at the scene of that car where that car got burnt at, if you go back and look, not everything was burnt to a crisp because there were still pieces of that car still sitting there in that little alleyway or whatever it was at. So not everything got burnt to a crisp. Yeah, think about it. Go in your backyard right now and try and set dirt on fire. Literally go in your yard or see a pile of dirt and try and set the dirt on fire, and you tell me what happens. That dirt is, think about what's going to happen. The dirt might get smaller. It might turn into smaller particles. It might even turn into dust, but it's still going to be there. It's still going to be there. Just like with another thing that a lot of people don't know about, and they get caught this way when they talk about dismembering a person's body, right? What do you think about? You think about, oh, you're cutting through this. There's gonna be blood splatter everywhere. I mean, that's what you're thinking of, right? And that's how you're gonna get caught. Let me clean up all this and clean up all the blood. Well, another thing that you don't, one thing people don't think about is the bone. The bone. If you cut through, let's say, a 2x4 right now, what's gonna happen when you cut through a 2x4? You're gonna get sawdust. It's going to leave sawdust. It's the same thing that happens with a human bone. It leaves dust, which is DNA. And some of that dust you don't even see. Yep. And they can still get DNA. You're right. People's skin shed all the time so they can still get DNA. We got right here, it says, if the unaliver burnt the car too quickly to get rid of Evan, why didn't she leave the? It's a good question. And I wonder, remember how now she was left in the car for, what was it, 2 days? It was 2 days, right? She was in the car. So if she was in the car that long, it makes me wonder if they were going to leave her there in the first place. Then they came back. Well, hell, it makes me wonder if they were actually going to leave her. They left her there for 2 days. Then they came back and put her in, dragged her away and put her in a grave. So they did leave her there for 2 days. So it makes me wonder. Now, with that car being left there for 2 days, think about it. She's in that car 2 days, pretty much decomposing. The body's giving off not just um any, let's say, bloodshed, but also fumes. Fumes as well too. Fumes getting into the cloth, the seats, the windows, the glass. It gets everywhere. So I'm pretty sure, I'm willing to bet, like I said, I'm willing to bet when it came to that car, they got evidence. They just ain't telling us, and they just ain't saying it yet because that's their leverage. Think about it. If they showed their hand, right? If they showed their hand and they showed that we have all this, there would be no leverage. So a lot of times what will happen is his attorney, what, a Shaka, right? Let's say Shaka's like talking to Keon. Hey, Keon. A lot of public defenders do this, actually. Just let you know. He's like, hey, Keon, they got this evidence on you, this evidence on you, and this evidence on you. We might not be able to beat this in trial, but what I can probably do is strike a deal. I can go and try and get a deal and get a deal for this charge, and this charge, right? Especially if the evidence is too much. Now, if Keon accepts it and be like, all right, yeah, let's try and get this deal going, a plea deal. Shaka goes to the, district attorney or whatever and tries to strike the plea deal. District attorney's like, we got the leverage, not you. We got the leverage because we got some evidence that you probably haven't seen yet that's going to go into court that you don't know about yet. So it could happen that way. So I think Kada had someone's DNA under her nails. I hope they got, that's a good one too. They never even said about the, under the nails or anything like that. That is also a good one. Now, we all know Keon is charged with the unaliving, and people are wondering, if he's the one that pulled the trigger or not. I just know that usually when you get charged with some sort of evidence that are charged that strong, they have some sort of evidence against you, and you might not know what it is, but they have it against you. So, do they have his DNA under her nails? Do they have the dirt when they were digging the grave and putting her in? Do they have the dirt not just in the car, but could the dirt be lodged in his shoes and he didn't think about cleaning them thoroughly? Could the dirt could have been on some clothes that they have? Could her DNA been on his clothes when he dragged her off? So, and not only that, she was wrapped in something, right? Could they left their DNA on that? You can sneeze on something and leave DNA. They have ways of getting your DNA from you. They could have easily been dragging her through there, and one could have coughed right on that bag, whatever she was on. Your DNA's there. And they didn't even think about that. See, I'm reading some of your comments right now. Was there any additional suspects formally identified? So far, no. All they said in the paperwork that to the public is that there's two other people. I strongly think they know who these two people are. Just because if you look at other cases and you look at other individuals, when people are looking for somebody, usually they put out a clip, a picture, or something about them. They say, hey, have you seen this person? They haven't done this not one time at all. They have not asked for our help on these other two individuals, and it's been weeks. So usually by this time, they will pull out a clip, and every single person I've known that's got caught when I was locked up, every single person I looked at that's been caught on video, they already knew who they were. They just didn't say anything because they were watching you, building up the case, making sure it's you, seeing if you're going to do anything else. If there's more than those two people involved, let's say there's a fourth and fifth person involved, and they have a hunch that there's a fourth and fifth person involved, they could be following the second and third person to see what they're doing if they're contacting that fourth and fifth person. We all know Keon's locked up, but the other two aren't, right? Now, let's say they went and just locked those two. Let's say it was really 4 people or 5 people involved, and they locked 3 of them up. And let's say the 3 aren't telling. Let's say I ain't going to tell you who it is. I ain't telling because some people still don't tell. They're still out there. they'll probably never get that fourth and fifth person because they don't have any key evidence or any witnesses or anything like that. But if they let one person run wild in the street and that person's still talking on the phone to that last guy, still visiting them, it's like a personal wiretap. They don't even know they're getting tapped. So you said in your reading she left a scratch. So you said that in your reading she left a scratch. And if she left a scratch, then it's possible his DNA is under her nail. And when they did, the medical examiner went and did everything to her body, they're going to check her nails. They're going to check that stuff. Because even if you're decomposing, she wasn't there that long to where, let's say, it's hard. I hate to say it, but it wasn't like she was, liquefied. So she wasn't there that long. So even if you're decomposing, you still can leave DNA under a nail, just like you can leave hell. What about DNA on the bag she was put in? Yeah, that's why I said that too. Sneeze on the bag, that's DNA. Indirectly listed on the affidavit, as in like they listed the person by mistake. Is that what you mean? Like it was a mistake that they listed them, they weren't supposed to? Um, if a person was listed by mistake on an affidavit, that's a big mistake. I guess it depends on what that person's involvement is. Let's say if that person is the informant and they got listed on an affidavit, oh, that's a huge mistake. That's almost a lawsuit right there, pretty much. You're supposed to keep my information private. In return, I'm supposed to give you this information, but you couldn't do that. Deal's off. Let's see. It says her Aunt Bree said that Kada was fighting Keon in the car, and that's why he blammed her in the head. Uh, could be true. We just don't know what exactly it was fighting over. That's the part nobody knows. So we have Trace News reported Keon was supposed to have preliminary hearing scheduled today, November 10th. What happened to that? All right. Unfortunately, I have a lot of experience with the courtroom myself. All right. Every single preliminary hearing I ever had always got postponed. Every single one. There hasn't been one preliminary hearing that I had that was not postponed. And a lot of times it's going to be a few reasons. First is evidence. So, for example, how I'm talking about the dirt in the carpet, right? I'm talking about the dirt in his shoes, the dirt in the mats. I believe it's called forensic. What is it called? Forensic. Hold on, real quick. There's a name. There's a word for it. Forensic. Let me see here. I want to make sure I say the word right. It's pretty much the study of rocks, is what it is, and the forensic version of that. But I can't remember what the name of it is exactly. But that doesn't happen overnight. It depends. That could take a couple days. That could take a couple weeks. That could take a few months. I know for the person I know that got caught with that type of evidence where the dirt matched on the shovel and it matched in his car, it took them, I want to say it was 3 weeks until he got arrested because that's how long it took for them to dissect the dirt. It took that long. So he thought he was cool and then he got arrested 3 weeks later. So that could be one reason. They could be waiting for certain evidence to come through, so they can have their leverage. So forensic evidence, DNA, all that stuff, like she said earlier, DNA in the fingernails, they could be trying to make sure all that matches, right? Another thing is also, which is very common, conflicts, conflicts, conflicts. These lawyers have so many court dates and so many trials, so many that is conflicts. So what would happen is the judge will go in and the judge will say, he doesn't give the people, he really doesn't give the people, he doesn't give you a range of dates. He doesn't say, hey, Shaka Johnson, it could be from an 11th, 10th to 13th. It really doesn't happen that way. Usually the judge will be like, I scheduled this on this day and this time. And then the lawyers will be like, okay, and then they write it down. But they're not checking their other calendar to see if they're in trial for nothing else or anything like that. And a lot of times they'll go back and they'll look, oh, I got a trial this day for that. Or you know what I mean? And a lot of times it's conflict. So it's either evidence, conflict. Third reason is, I think I told you guys I gave you three. Another one is witness. Witness. Every state's different when it comes to witnesses and preliminary hearings. Every state is different. Now, I believe, I could be wrong, in that state, okay, in Philly, the witness has to show up for prelims. I believe. Some states, the witness don't have to show up until actual trial. Now, a lot of this is because of safety reasons too. Some witnesses don't want to show up for prelims. And that's why you get a lot of people walking out, and getting away for cases, because you have not only the witness walking through the same door, but let's say the suspect bonded out. Let's say he bonded out. Both of them are walking through the same court doors at the same time, and you have this person sitting at the prelims telling on him, he did this to me, and he did this, and he did that. And then once prelims is over with, they both walk out the same doors again. What kind of safety concern is that? Think about that. So some states will have it where the witness don't have to come to trial. But I think Philly, they have to be there for prelims. So if they have a witness and that witness date is conflicted, they will waive it as well. Why don't they check Keon's gold car? I'm pretty sure they got that. Remember how they got the car. The car is in evidence. That's in the evidence. They got that car. They checked that car left and right. They're checking it for dirt evidence, rock evidence, DNA evidence. They're checking it for all that. So they got that. Oh, yes. All right. So me and True Crime Nicole were talking about this earlier because she was the first person that found out that I told her that I spoke with the inmate who was in there with Keon. And I told her about, that, hey, he couldn't give me a name. I didn't want him to because it's a recorded line. And even if he did give me a name, I wouldn't say it out there like that. But when he did say there was an informant, Nicole said, she started digging into some other people that live on that same block, the Belmont Terrace. And some of them had numbers, or I should say one of them had a number that was also listed on an affidavit that they didn't mention whose name. So there's one section in the affidavit when they said Albert was contacted, one of the top contacts, if you guys remember. Then they had another number, but they didn't say who the name was. So Nicole found the owner of that number, and they live on the same block of Belmont Terrace, which the other two girls live, like a few streets down. And then that person has a background for what was it, distribution, attempt to sell and stuff like that. You found all kind of stuff. And we were just trying to put it together because if Keon is the neighborhood pharmaceutical, who is he getting it from? Who's he getting it? Is he getting it from this person? And that's why it was the top contact. And then this person had a child who's pretty much the same age, around the age of Keon. So they're like, they might all know each other. Let's see. I think they have plenty and they are building up so when they make that arrest, it can stick. You're right. And I think, you know what? You're exactly right. You hit it right there on the buzzer. main thing they like to do is they like to make you think that you are scot free and you got away. And because if you think that, you would continue on with your daily life doing your still illegal activities, that they're still following you and they're still racking up on you. Okay. Quick little thing, real quick. All right. Check this out. We all see movies, right, where somebody gets followed. You know, the cops follow them, they get in the car and they're following them from street to street to street to street. You know how they really follow you? That's how they really follow you. They usually use three cars. It's common, three cars. All right. I talked about this in one of my videos for the Melody Buzzard situation. Usually it's three cars. So they'll have one car, let's say maybe parked around the block from you or something like that, waiting to see when you leave. Okay. And then let's say they see you leave. That car won't sometimes move automatically. They'll have another car parked somewhere further down the street, maybe ahead of you. And then they'll let that car know, hey, suspect one is coming towards your way. And then what will happen is then that car will start following you, right? Then there's a third car. Then they would contact the third car and it keeps recycling itself. So then the third car is talking back to the first car. So no matter where you're going, you got three different cars, sometimes three different colors, whatever it is, that could be telling you or following you. You're not paying attention because it's three different cars. Now, if it was one car following you around the whole block and following you, you're going to notice that. And you're like, hold on, somebody's following, especially if you're doing legal stuff. But you won't really pay attention to three cars following you. And every car has two people in it. All right. One's driving, one's doing surveillance. Sometimes there are three people in the car. All right. I've seen cases where they have five cars following people, following you around. Now that's when it gets in the feds. Feds is when you get that many people following you around. You have the movies, they show this big white van and they're in the white van with the cameras, right? It ain't always like that. These people could be in the Mitsubishi Outlander with just some tinted windows or all that stuff in the back of it. And you wouldn't even recognize, you wouldn't even know it. They could be, I've seen them in a Lexus RX before in the back because they gutted the seats out the back and they got TVs back there and they got surveillance on you. You wouldn't even know it. And then I've seen people use not DoorDash. There was delivery signs, whatever, right? I don't think they're allowed to use Uber or DoorDash anymore. They were doing that, but I don't think they're allowed to anymore. But they would use delivery signs, and you think it's delivery, and it's really not. It's the police. There was a carpenter one for me. It was a carpenter people following me around. They were the police. They didn't work. They wasn't no carpet company. It was the police. The whole time was following me around from a carpet vehicle. So these people are slick. They will think that you're scot free when really you're not. Usually, when a group of people are suspects, there is always a wink link that will tell. It never fails. And you're right. This ain't the mafia days no more, right? This ain't 1970s, 60s with the Italian mafia where everybody was strong because even they failed. People start snitching. Even they start snitching on each other. So you're right. When you're doing crimes and you got a lot, that's how I got caught. Other people. When you're doing crimes and you got all these other people involved, yeah, somebody gonna tell because all they gonna do is they're gonna sit you down in that room, especially if you ain't never been locked up before. It's scary. And they're gonna sit you down in that room and they're gonna interrogate you and they're gonna throw all kind of lies at you, and they're gonna say you could go the rest of your life, even though you're not the one who pulled the trigger, but you can go for the rest of your life. You might not even been in the same room, but they're still gonna tell you that. And they're gonna make you think you can because they're gonna hold you as long as they can. All right. And next thing you know, people are cracking. Environmental DNA. Everything's got DNA. I don't care if it's a tree trunk, it's got DNA. What is abuse of a corpse mean? That can mean a few things. It all depends. Same thing with there's a couple of charges I could break down for you. So abuse of a corpse could be a few things. That could be when somebody passes away, right? And let's say you start cutting them up. That's abuse of a corpse. Everybody knows that. Any physical harm you might do to a corpse could be abuse of a corpse. They can also charge you for abuse of a corpse for moving the corpse and putting it in somewhere it doesn't belong. That could be abuse of a corpse. So, say for example, how she was found in that shallow grave with a board over and stuff like that. They can technically say that's abuse of a corpse. It all depends. It's one of those charges that could be kind of wide range and however they want to charge it. Same thing with which I just broke down today to somebody, false imprisonment. You know how easy it is to get a false imprisonment charge? That's one of the easiest felonies you can get. Easy. False imprisonment is an easy charge. You can be arguing with somebody in your house right now. Let's say you arguing with somebody in your house and they don't live there or they want to leave. And let's say you step in front of the door and you tell that person, you can't leave until you tell me what I want to know. You just committed false imprisonment. Just by that. False imprisonment charge, felony. If they want to call the police and say they're not letting you, false imprisonment. Remember when OJ went to jail? That last when he went to jail prison, he didn't go. Remember, he didn't go for Nicole Simpson, but he went for trying to rob his merchandise back. You know, one of his charges was false imprisonment, and he got 9 years for that. They gave him the max, 9 years for that. And all he did was go in there, take his stuff, and tell them not to leave the room and walk out. He got nine, and it didn't even take that long. It took a few seconds, and he got 9 years for that. So they can give you a hefty charge for false imprisonment. Diaz and Bree was at the prelim at this. They're at these prelims, or are you talking about from before? I'm gonna switch the camera, my other, or switch the battery, in my other camera. Yeah, which prelim? Which prelims are you talking about? I'm interested in hearing which prelims that is. In this case, I think they tried to dismember her but couldn't. I mean, that could be possible because a lot of people think it's easy to do something like that. It's not easy. It's not easy. You're not cutting nobody up thinking it's gonna be easy like that. It's actually hard. Just like digging a grave, you're not gonna go out there and just start digging a grave thinking it's easy. It's hard. Ask anybody who uses a shovel for a living. It's hard. It's not easy. Yep, abuse of a corpse, moving or dismember it. Dismember. I can never say that word. Dismember. Yeah, that charge could be so wide range because it's just you got to think about the abuse part. Abuse could be anything. Um, just like somebody getting an abuse charge on a child, right? It doesn't even have to necessarily mean that you are hitting them. It could mean different types of abuse. It could even mean mental abuse. You can get charged with that as well. It could be you know how to get child neglect because maybe you're leaving your child too long or weren't feeding them. You can still get child abuse just by leaving them in the and all day in the house and not giving them food. You can get child neglect with child abuse on top of that. They can rack those charges up. It's just a wide range and it depends on the DA and what they want to do. Now, what they usually do, the feds are really known. Now, the feds are known for this. The feds are known for this. The feds will think of any charges they can think of, and they will rack up. If you look at federal cases, this is why a lot of federal cases, a person will have easily 20 charges and up, easily. Because what they do is they try and think of any little charge and they want to rack it up, 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 right? County, they will do it to an extent, but they don't always do that. But the feds will, because the feds have the time. Um, so let's say you're selling or whatever it is. They're gonna think of every charge they can give you for selling whatever you're selling. And you might be looking at the sheet like, hey, I didn't even know I was doing that. I didn't make that much money. And then what they're gonna do is they're gonna use that to their leverage. Because let's say you got 20 charges on you, but really you only committed 10. Let's say you really only committed 10, but they dropped 20 charges on you. What happens is when you go in to negotiate that plea deal, right? Because usually when you negotiate a plea deal, you get charges dropped. They'll say, "We'll drop this charge for that, just charge for that." A lot of times when you go to negotiate, you still end up getting charged for what you should have been charged with in the first place because they're dropping all those bogus charges that they just want to stack up on you. And that's why the Fed's got a high conviction rate. Forensic geology, yes, that was what I was looking for. I wasn't trying to use Google. Forensic geology is what they use when they're trying to figure out if the dirt matches from the grave that's on your shoe or in your carpet, on the mat, or anything else that was around there. And a lot of people get caught through forensic geology and you don't even know it because a lot of people aren't thinking about that. They're thinking about, oh, I got to clean the blood off me. I got to get the gunpowder off me. I got to change clothes, but they're not thinking about the ground they're walking through. They're not thinking that. Now they might be like, "Oh, I got to change my shoes and throw my shoes out because I walked through here." But what about everywhere you walked before you put, you threw your shoes away? They're not thinking about that. You had to get back in your car, right? You got back in your car and you drove away from the crime scene. All that dirt's in your car. Oh, let me vacuum this dirt up real quick. It ain't coming all out. It's not. Yes, I think do charge if you move a body from one spot to another, tampering with evidence, abuse. Oh yeah, oh yeah, you definitely getting tampering with evidence. You get an abusive corpse. There's even a third charge and a fourth charge they can probably throw in there. Wondering if someone was in the car. This is what we're all wondering. Wondering if someone was in the car when he picked her up, and that's who pewed her. Because if he's driving, how he get a perfect of her head? The police stated she found. A lot of people are wondering that. Now I can't say one thing. Yeah, any of you guys ever been in the 2008 Hyundai Accent hatchback, two door? Any of y'all ever been in one? I have. Backseat is small, so I will say one thing: whoever's in that backseat, I don't. If there was somebody in the backseat, I don't think that we're that big of a stature. Now you could fit back there if you're big. It's just gonna be very uncomfortable, very. Unless you put the seats down, you can't put the seats down because of the hatchback. You can kind of just lay back there. That could be possible. Somebody could have did that. But if those back seats are up, it's small. It's a tight fit back there. So if there was somebody back there, I'm thinking it was, yeah, concealing a body, other charge. Yeah, you can get charged with like 3 or 4 charges just by moving a dead person. You can get charged for a few charges. A dead person of a crime and you move them, tampering, abuse of a corpse, concealing a body. You can get charged a lot of charges. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Valentine says, I'm loving your channel. I'm loving that you're loving my channel. I'm going to rewatch this tomorrow. Please do because I am going to post it. Don't worry. I make sure all my lives stay up. The DA Krasner said that he had to tell the parents information about their loved one. It sounds like Kada, but it could be a family member. That area is coming under organized crime from Chicago. You said it's coming under organized crime from Chicago. So are you saying that the organized crime in Chicago, are you saying it's kind of moving into Philly? Is that what you're trying to say? I know Larry Krasner called Shaka personally. Shaka said it. Larry Krasner called Shaka personally and said, "Hey, go, turn in your client." Yeah, they gave OJ a heavy sentence because because they couldn't get him. And you're right. They threw the book at that man. They said, "Oh, we couldn't get you from Nicole. This is what we gonna do." OJ in the courtroom, like, "What are you talking about? I just went in there and tried to grab my trophy that was originally mine in the first place." Nope. You are getting hostage situation, and you're getting charged, and you're going to get served time for tampering with a witness and false imprisonment. 9 years. 9 years because he went in there and tried to grab his trophy and told the people, um, "Hey, don't move," and got 9 years for saying "don't move." Smithfield, North Carolina. Glad you up in here. Actually, I lived in Raleigh for a little bit when I was on my run. I lived on the Raleigh-Cary borderline. Look for tire tracks. Tire tracks will tell a lot. It's going to say the size of your tire. It's going to say the thread. A lot of that's all they need. Now they can know what kind of car they're looking for. And if your car matches that description, oh, now let's see if your tire matches the track. Oh, it matches the track. You were there. Same thing as footprints. Same thing. Or prints from your boot, your shoe. Let your boot print be right there next to the shallow grave. There's actually a name for the shallow. There's a name for it, but I can't remember the name of it. Um, what is it called? Like how they were saying shallow grave. There's actually a scientific name for that CSI uses, but I can't remember the name of it right now. But yeah, all they gotta do is match your foot to the grave, and yeah, you were there. All right, let's see. Read some of these comments. Answering these questions. Wasn't it stated that investigators were supposed to be watching Keon because of a prior incident? If so, they must not have been watching him well enough. Bingo. We are wondering that too. Now, check this out. Shaka got on live TV, and I made a video about that. Said Larry Krasner called him in, or called Shaka personally, and was like, "Hey, I need you to turn to my client or turn in your client." And Shaka claims that they didn't know what it was for. That's what they're claiming. They didn't know it was for, and that he brought Keon to turn him in. Who turns in somebody you don't know what to turn them in for? First of all, that was bogus. You gonna turn me in? I gotta know what I'm getting turned in for. So Krasner called him up, was like, "You gotta turn in your boy for something." And supposedly they was like, "All right," and turned him in, right? And then next thing you know, he's getting charged with unaliving and everything else he got charged with. So the whole they were following, because remember they pulled him over on the first, and then they pulled him over on the second. That's when they pulled him over with Lopez, was one of the girls who was in the car with him. And supposedly he had a DUI warrant. I think True Crime Nicole spoke with a detective about that. Supposedly he had a DUI warrant, right? As well. My whole thing is, if he had a DUI warrant, why didn't he go to jail when he got pulled over on the first and second? Then he got pulled over again on the sixth and seventh. Remember? Pulled over again after she vanished because they want to see. I know they pulled him over because they want to see his phone pinged. His phone pinged that address. And once they saw his phone ping, they knew it was him. But if they were watching him, what are they watching him for? Now, if he is a pharmaceutical drug dealer, were they watching him for that reason and trying to get more evidence to book him and book whoever else was? Hey, foo foo. She said, "Hey, foo foo." But they say he went straight to the rec center. Well, only one person got out of the car, not two. If two were inside with the car, then two would have been on the camera leaving. And I have thought about that. But here's the thing, we don't know if made a stop and that person, I mean, it could have got out anywhere, right? A stop sign. So we don't know if he made a stop at a stop sign and a second person got out. We don't know. Um, there's a lot of possibilities. If there is a second person in the car, if there was, the police know. They got that. You know what? Like I said, man, the police, feds, whatever you want to call them, they got everything. They got so much stuff. I'm guarantee you they got so much stuff already. And they're just waiting to drop the hammer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I try and give people a point of view that other people can't give you just because I lived through a lot of these things. I've been a time in my life where I was unfortunately locked up, went to prison. I was a fugitive on the run. I had to change my name a bunch of different times. That's why I was living in North Carolina, Raleigh. That's one of the places I changed my name was in Raleigh. So I went to up to Canada. I went to Greenland. I went to all kind of places, whatever, right? But while doing all this, I had to navigate through an underground of people and run into people and talk with people that you really don't want to talk to, ever in your life because these people are serious people. So I can use some of that experience that I have and put that towards a lot of these cases or some good, you know what I mean? And maybe try and help either somebody else out. What Tupac said. Tupac said, he wasn't trying to change the world, but he's trying to spark the mind of somebody who can change the world. Kind of the same philosophy. The Texas Cadet. I've heard a little bit about that, but not a lot. The girl hid in the trunk down for a minute and then popped out and hit the girlfriend with the dumbbell. I got to look into that. Do you think she was set up for organ harvesting, but when it got too hot, let gas disposal? You know what? Heard that too. Now, if it was for let's just throw this out there. I've never been, as I know, I've never been when I was in that place locked up with anybody that got caught for anything like that. That's one thing I've never got to talk to anybody, personally that did that type of stuff. But when you think of, let's say, organ harvesting, when you think of that, usually you think of people with money, right? You think, I mean, not saying that's not the case, but you think of that because these people with money are paying thousands and thousands of dollars for a kidney, a heart, whatever they need, right? Who would they be hiring to go out and do that stuff? Would they hire somebody like Keon to do something like that? Or would they hire somebody else? A lot of things you can't knock off. Said the stuff people make up. Tumulus. Krasner got reelected last Tuesday. Guess y'all weren't that mad. Wow. Y'all in this chat, did y'all vote for Krasner? Wow. All right, so World Peace Matter says, but can't that be easily beat with the fact that they can't prove when or where she actually abused? Now, it can't, all right, there is a million mistakes that you can make when you unalive someone. If you could think of 20 of those, just 20, 20, and they also are the 20 most important mistakes, they say you committed the perfect situation to where you're going to get away scot free forever, right? Just a little saying that that goes around. Now, I could think of a lot of mistakes that were made by him. Even if I was the DA, I probably have a field day in that courtroom and I can convict him if I was the DA, just because I can see the mistakes that were made. For one, let's go all the way back to the text now numbers, right? That shows a sign of connection. That also can show a sign that a first degree, not second or third, but first, because he was planning this. All right. Now it's not proof, but it can show a sign. Now remember, when you're facing a jury, right? If you're in a courtroom and you ever face a jury, your lawyer's job, and if you're the one that's facing the jury, your lawyer's job is to prove that you didn't do it. And then the district attorney's job is to prove and convince the jury that you did do it. So I'm going to convince them already that you already made your mind up and this was a plan that you had from the start. And then, second, he stole the car. Why would you steal the car for? You already have a car, right? So why would you steal the car and then pick her up in the stolen car? That's two. So with those two connections, there already shows that this person is planning to do something already. Third step, if they have him on, let's say, pinging with his phone, going to these locations of her work, now that's digital evidence, digital DNA. The rec center, you got pinged, more digital DNA. If they ping the traction of his phone, because they could ping you when you're walking. A lot of people don't know this. Take out your phone right now and look at your GPS. Think about that. When you're walking down the street, your phone will follow you everywhere you go. You think they can't look at that same? They can look at that too. So they ping you at the rec center. Now they see you walking through this. Brian Kohlberger, the one who offed those 4 or 5 students in North Dakota or whatever it was. They pinged his phone to the T that they know that he went to the front door first, a window, and then walked, got in his car, and then drove to the back of the house because they followed the GPS of his phone and it went all the way to the back of the house. And then they slowly walked from the car through the forest to the back sliding glass door, and that's how he went in the house. So if these people can do that to him, they could do it to Keon and anybody else. And I'm pretty sure they probably have that evidence. So he's walking through the back, more digital evidence. He's on video, and if he's dragging, which it might not be a body, right? But looks like the body towards where that site is at, more digital evidence. If he was dumb enough to have his phone on him, while they put her where she laid at, now you're connected to where she was at. More digital DNA evidence. You're done. What's the jury gonna look at you and say? Y'all tell me. Someone hired Keon. The questions are why and who. You know what? I said that in one of my videos that, you know, first of all, everybody's a suspect. Everybody is. Nobody's left off the table. That's for one. I might not say all their names, but everybody's a suspect. That's one. Two is I had mentioned that if, if he's hired, why was he hired? Did she know something she wasn't supposed to know? Did she stumble across something she wasn't supposed to stumble across? Did she owe somebody some money? And you know what? It couldn't even have been her. It could have been somebody in the family. Now, let's say somebody in the family owed money, but it wasn't Kada. But it was somebody else in the family that owed money or something else. But let's say they couldn't get to that person. So where do they strike next? Oh, let's go to Kada. We know where Kada live at. Kada is gonna be the breadwinner in a few years. She the one that's gonna make it out the hood. She going to Penn State. She's gonna be Miss America. Let's get her. If we can't get him or her, let's get Kada. That's the way some of these people think. If they can't get you, they will get somebody close to you, or they will cut off, let's say, the bloodline, the head of the snake, or something to make you really suffer. Like, dang, now we all screwed. So y'all tried to get him out of office, but not enough people voted. Oh man. Why? Everybody got records that can't vote? Heard half Philly got records. Like all these other big cities. Wonder Woman says, love your channel. Thank you for explaining information like this. Thank you. Thank you. I love all you guys too that are liking, subscribe, spreading the word. Like I said, I come on here and I try and give you a different point of view. Um, I try and give you, facts that I know, no false information like some other people be putting out. So I'm not the first one to jump the gun and give you something. I want to look it up first before I show it or tell you guys it. Said, maybe Keon just laughed, or maybe she laughed at Keon's advances. Dang. So she laughed at Keon and got unalive for it. Ain't that, hey, I wouldn't put it past him. I would not put it past him. Yeah, Krasner called him. Shaka said that on live TV. Krasner called him personally on his cell phone, which meaning they got each other's numbers. You got to remember, Shaka was in a SWAT team, and then Shaka was a detective. Meaning, Shaka at one point worked with Krasner. They were pretty much on the same team. So, of course, they know each other's numbers, right? They went to lunch together, played golf together, probably a little paddle ball, all kind of stuff probably get together, right? So, of course, he called Shaka and was like, hey, turn in your client. And Shaka told us, I don't know why he said that. You know why. You know why. It is starting to give Hitman. Yeah, we have one side, people are saying Hitman, and the other side, people are saying, Keon did it for some sort of personal reasons. Krasner is under a lot of heat with the Emmanuel Harrell's case. I've been covering Emmanuel Harrell. I covered that one a lot. Actually, I covered that one a lot because Jake just pled guilty and got sentenced. Yeah, it's actually one of the first cases I started doing multiple videos on was that one. They know who was with him. The phone pinging, they know exactly whose phone was traveling with Keon. Just not announced. No, they're not going to. They are not going to announce it. They are not going to tell us. They're not. It's just a fact of situation. And we're looking at this like, dang, we want to know more. We want to know more. You know who else don't know everything? People who get in trouble that are sitting in jail. Have you ever sat in jail before? Any of y'all ever sat in jail before? And were just waiting and just waiting and just waiting. You don't know crap. You don't know nothing. You don't know nothing until your lawyer hands you your discovery. And some lawyers don't even give you a discovery. A lot of public defenders don't. If you got a public defender, they ain't giving you one. Paid lawyer, different story. But if you got a public defender, a lot of times you ain't even gonna get your discovery. So you don't know crap. All you know is there's lawyers coming in here and talking about they want to give you a deal, and this is the deal. And you don't even know why. Some lawyers don't even ask you what happened. They don't even ask you what happened. They don't even ask if you're innocent or guilty. Some lawyers don't even do that. I My first ever lawyer was a public defender, very first time. And I shouldn't even gotten in trouble. Shouldn't even gotten in trouble. This story is actually what set everything off of how I went onto the run and how I started doing my little criminal activities and stuff like that. I'm writing a book. The book could be out soon, actually. For you guys that don't know, I have it behind me. I'll show you guys it. But it should be out soon. But quick story, real quick. And this is how easily you can get caught up in the system. Easily. Without knowing better. And I wish I would have known better back then. I was about 21, 22 years old. I was actually a good kid. I never got in trouble as a kid. Good grades, I played sports, everything. I decided to move out. I went to a whole different state. I moved to Colorado, and I was going to join the Air Force. I was going to join the Air Force. I took the test, scored high. I did a lot of things, right? But I started procrastinating and didn't join right away. Got a job. I went and got an apartment and I had a roommate. Well, rent's due. I come home one day. My roommate ain't home. Going to the his room. Only thing left in his room was a TV. Okay, that was the only thing. I'm trying to call this guy now. At this time, we really didn't have cell phones. We had two-way pagers and pagers. I mean, you had cell phones, but you were working on anytime minutes and things like that, right? He's not answering. Finally, this guy calls me hours later. He gets a hold of me hours later. And he's like, hey, my bad. I had to move out. I tell you what, that TV I left in the room, I want you can have that TV, sell it, whatever you got to do, and use that to cover, some of my rent. Because at the time, rent was mad cheap. So I'm like, all right, bet. I take that TV, I go to the pawn shop, I pawn the TV, right? I get my money, I pay my rent. Well, y'all, 6 months later, I get pulled over. Cop tells me I have warrants for my arrest. So what these warrants? I ain't never did nothing. I used to get speeding tickets a lot, but that was nothing. But I never did nothing. They were like, and I was like, what, tickets are like, the cop was like, no, you gotta get out. There's a felonies. I had charges for theft, robbery, and false information to a pawn shop, and there was a fourth felony. I don't even remember what the fourth felony was. My bond was a little over $10,000. This is my first time ever getting in trouble. I go to jail. I'm in jail about a week and a half. I ain't got 10 grand to bond out. So I finally bond out. And then right when I bond out, I have a public defender. Public defender comes to me, right? Public defender doesn't show me no discovery, doesn't ask me no questions, doesn't ask if I did it or didn't do it, nothing. Public defender comes to me and says, hey, this is what deal we can do for you. We're going to drop the robbery and we're going to drop the theft. But you have to plead guilty to false information to a pawn shop. But you ain't got to worry about no jail or no nothing. I'm like, what? I ain't got to worry about nothing? They're like, yeah, you ain't got to worry about no jail or nothing. Where the paperwork at? Let me sign. And I signed right away. 2 days later, I was like, oh, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to the Air Force server, right? Because that was my original plan. Air Force said, oh, you got this felony in now. False information to a pawn shop. You can't join. Oh, man. Try the Army. Went to the Army. Army said, oh, we'll take you because it's not a violent charge, but you got to wait 3 to 5 years. I can't remember. It was a time you had to wait. Oh, man. Now I can't even get a job. I got false information to a pawn shop, which some people labeled it as fraud. And they don't want to hire me because I got a fraud charge. Years later, after I'm on the run, I eventually turn myself in from the run. We hired this big shot attorney for me, one of the biggest in the States. I hired an attorney that actually worked on Kobe Bryant's case when Kobe got caught up in his allegations. So one of his attorneys is who I hired. Man, that attorney came back. He looked at all my charges from the past and he said, you should have never pled to that first charge. I said, why? He said, first of all, you never committed false information to a pawn shop. I looked at everything. He goes, technically, false information to a pawn shop is when you're giving them false information. You never gave them false information. He said, you told them on a slip, because when you pawn something, we all know you fill out a slip. Do you own this? How long have you owned this? Things like that. Well, on a slip, I told them it's mine, but I've only owned it for a day. He said, technically, that's not false information. You're telling the truth. You should have never pled guilty. You would have never had that charge in the first place. My very first charge that I pled guilty to was from a whack public defender not doing their job and is trying to get a guilty plea, and I fell for it. So I have to tell you guys that. Love your channel. Thank you so much. Northern California, 707. Yeah, I grew up in Southern. I grew up in Los Angeles. That's where I grew up at. Born and raised in Southern. Please, yes, hit that like button. Yes, Idaho. Idaho was the Bryan case. That was Idaho. You're right. I always get Idaho and DNA Dakota mixed up. Probably because they look the same on the map almost. You have to turn on airplane mode. He wasn't too bright. Most people aren't too bright when it comes to that. I don't understand why people go do crimes with their phone in their pocket. I don't understand that one. Why are you doing a crime with a personal GPS that the government can track you? Not only that, we all can start talking about Toyotas and Hondas and Porsches right now or something, right? Let us all start talking about some sort of car. What's going to happen when you log onto your Facebook? Now you're going to get advertisements for that car. It's going to pop up. So you have a device that follows you and then a device that listens to you. Make it make sense. And then you're going to go out and do crimes with that on you. Here's one thing. All right. Becky Ruther said, I think FBI can make any fuzzy video clear. I think FBI already knows who drove the car. Becky went to a smart school, I can see, because you are absolutely right. I do a lot with AI, a lot with AI. Some people will send me images of, let's say, grandparents that are from a long time ago and they were fuzzy. I could take that image myself and I can clear up that image like it's brand new just with AI. So imagine what the FBI can do if I'm doing that. But yet, people don't think about that. Didn't his phone shake hands with their Wi-Fi also? His phone was pinged plenty of times. Every single crime scene pretty much that they went to, his phone was pinged in. That first house that was searched, the phone was pinged in. And that's where Kada's, I think it was her Apple Watch got pinged. Just reading some of these comments, catching up on these comments right now. I don't understand why the best friend felt compelled to tell her friend that Keon was asking about Kada. Seemed like one of the two friends like Keon. I actually I mentioned this in my other video. I did mention this in my other video, I believe. I actually got an email from a neighbor, somebody who lives a few houses down from so-called Gabby. And supposedly, allegedly, Gabby and Keon were more than just friends. Supposedly, they seen them. They can pull from a satellite in the sky and find out where you have been without having a phone on your person. Military, now that you bring that up, military has had the technology almost since the 80s, maybe even before that, the 70s. The reason why I know this, my mom was in Air Force. She was in intelligence, all right? That's why I was going to go to the Air Force. Military has the capability to where if they really want to pinpoint you, you could be sitting in your house watching me right now, and they can use that satellite they got in the atmosphere and pinpoint you watching me if they really want to. A lot of these cameras they putting out on the street, on stoplights and things like that, these traffic cameras, these cameras are really designed to follow us. It's really designed to keep us, or not keep us, but watch us, okay? If you make one wrong move with your vehicle, your car is going to be flagged, and it's going to be flagged throughout that system. Anytime your plate passes any one of these traffic cams, they got you. They can get it down to the VIN number. They got it down to the VIN number because your VIN number is attached to the plate, right? So as soon as they scan that plate, they got you. They got your VIN number. Even if you want to change your plate, oh, let me change the plate. See, back in the day, they didn't have it. You used to be able to change your plate and get away with it. Not anymore. You can change your plate, it ain't gonna work because these cameras, a lot of them also have infrared, and they will be able to read your VIN as you're passing by these cameras. They got you. I allegedly heard Kada owed KK money. That is some theories that are going around. It's just that nobody's proved any of it. A lot of these are just theories, right? About owing money or the hitman, and they're all theories. None of us can prove it. But I bet you the district attorney has something. You're on it. I can't say much, but you're close. Me and my homeboys discussed this very same thing last week. It was a targeted hit. Car's undercarriage has evidence too. That is a fact. Let just a blade of grass get on that car. Oh, you in trouble. You are in trouble. Hey, speaking of that, you, I was locked up with somebody. You know how they got caught? They got caught by the stupidest way. Speaking of DNA, it wasn't even human DNA. It was animal DNA they got caught with. All right, so in Colorado, right, especially in Colorado Springs, this is where I did a lot of my criminal activity at. They have this mountain, Pikes Peak Mountain. It's a big mountain. It's famous. And believe it or not, a lot of people, when they want to do something to you, they take you to the mountain and dump you off in the mountain, and you'll probably never get found again, right? This guy, it was over a woman, I think. I don't remember. But anyway, he unalived this person, took him to the mountain or something like that, or around. He didn't go all the way up. He went on the bottom somewhere. And on the way back down, he ended up hitting an animal. I can't remember if it was a deer or something, but he hit something, right? Now, some sort of way there was somebody else up there at the exact same time, and I guess they saw him put the person in the hole. They were camping. I can't remember exactly how it all happened. But anyway, when the police came, they saw the animal that was hit laying on the ground. So what did the police do? They took a sample of the animal's DNA. Then from there, the guy he hit the animal, had to get his car fixed. He took it to the shop. And what they did was they put an alert out on the shop. Colorado Springs is not that big. There's only a few shops you can go to, especially big ones. So they put an alert out of, anybody hit an animal. So he brought his car into the shop. It was flagged. Cops came. They scraped off the DNA from the animal. And that was how that man got caught. From hitting an animal. Face ID is real. It it is legal, but they use the United States. Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely real. Face ID. We do it with our phones, right? My laptop, actually. My laptop. I can look at it and open up. Her autopsy had food. Yeah, she remember she went out to eat at Top Golf. If you remember, she went out to eat at Top Golf a couple hours before. When Nicole was 17. I thought you were 18 now. I thought you was 18 now. Yeah, the dirt and the tires, they get caught in that thread or the tread. It's hard to get that out. If your lawyer owes here, here's something nobody else talks about. If your lawyers owes the DA a favor, hence Krasner calling Shaka, it's over. You're screwed. If your lawyer owes the DA You're screwed. Oh, nobody ever mentions that. Do you know how many favors go back and forth between attorneys, as in the defendant's attorney and the district attorney? Do you know how many favors go back and forth? And you might be asking yourself, why would they owe each other favors? Bear with me here. Check this out. A lot of private attorneys, especially private ones, at one point in their life, a lot of times they were public defenders or they were district attorneys and sometimes even judges, right? Think about it. Shaka was a detective. A lot of times private attorneys were on the opposite side, you know, of the law. They were with the law while you were going against the law. A reason why a lot of them switch and become private attorneys is money. DAs, think about this. They get paid a salary by the city, by the government, but in return for that salary, they have to take on hundreds, thousands of cases. They have to work 70, 80 hours a week. They almost have no say-so in their life. It's their 9 to 5 job, right? Now, private attorneys have a say-so. I don't know if you ever guys try to call a private attorney and private attorney say, yeah, I can't take a case right now. It happens because they might have a bookload of cases already, or they're in a trial where the person's paying all this money, so they're focusing just on them. Well, when it comes to the government, it don't work that way. So they become a private attorney, right? Now, while you're a private attorney, think about it. If you worked at the DA's office, like how Shaka worked as a detective, these two were buddies once, might still be friends. And a friend wants to help a friend out sometimes. Let's say your attorney, who's your attorney now, had a client before you. And let's say your client before you got that favor, where the attorney was like, hey, Mr. DA, I have this client here. Please, let's not do this to them because they had a good life. They went to school. He has a straight A student. His parents got money. They're rich and they're willing just to move him away, put him in this boarding school, and do this with him. All right. So let's not even send him to jail. Let's just do this. DA's like, all right, but now you owe me. Now you happen to come after him. Now you're the next one. And you got caught with the pistol gun. And not only that, your case is national wide or whatever it is. It's all over the media. It's all over the news. And now the district attorney friend can't afford to lose that case. Hey, remember that favor you did for me? Or that favor I did for you? Remember that favor with the rich kid? I need you to return that favor because this case is big and I can't afford to look bad. We got to do something. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how that works. Burnt bodies and bones are never fully gone. No, they're not. It takes a high temperature to disintegrate a bone. Very high temperature. Oh no, Sasha says the phone's been on for an hour. I'm so sorry. If I can rewind this, I could. But it is going to be back on. Don't worry. And also, I will break down before I get off, a little bit of some stuff that I found for you. Most neighborhood pharmaceuticals have more than one person they're spending personal time with. You're right. Most of them are players. Even the hair. Make sure you like the video. Please do. Thank you. Sasha came in and she's already running the check-in. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sasha, just to give you a real quick update, I started off the video by saying that I spoke with the inmate that's in jail, the same jail with Keon, locked up with him. The inmate couldn't say too much over the phone because it's a recorded call. And if you say too much, you can also get hit with a tampering charge. And even if he did tell me, I wouldn't say it on here because I don't even want to get hit with a tampering charge either. I've had one of those before. It's not fun. Can't beat it. It's hard. Um, especially when it's coming out your mouth. He said that there's an informant, and pretty much the whole jail knows there's an informant, and everybody in there knows there's an informant. Keon even knows there's an informant. So somebody is pretty much on the outs telling everything. And I was saying that would probably make sense of why these so-called tipsters were supposed to be calling in and giving the correct information to 100% of the leads and targets. It could be that informant, which makes sense now because I brought that up before a few videos ago, and now that could make sense. And then we start talking about evidence. There's evidence that a lot of people haven't discussed, and one key evidence is dirt. We know she was put in a shallow grave, but what was it dug up with? A shovel or whatever it is. Where did that shovel go? And then not only that, after they dug the grave up, somebody walked from that grave, went back into that Hyundai Accent, and then had that Hyundai Accent burnt and smashed. Well, even though that Honda Accent's burnt and smashed, that dirt that you just walked through from that grave is in that Hyundai. It's in that carpet. That didn't get burnt up. It's still there. So I'll guarantee you the police have that dirt. And what they're doing is they're doing forensic studies on that because all dirt pretty much has a DNA to see if that dirt matches the dirt of the grave. And if it matches, now, sir, you are placed at the crime scene. That was a quick rundown for you. People forget nowadays. And DNA, man, it's so hard. I don't understand why people are still doing these crimes. I really don't. Because nowadays, it is so hard. It is so hard to get away with anything. You have cameras everywhere. Everybody has my neighborhood, I'm in a pretty nice neighborhood. And every single one of my houses, we have ring cameras. We have cameras everywhere, the back, the front. There's You couldn't do nothing in my neighborhood and get away with it. Everybody's going to have you on camera. Everybody. There's people with cars that have cameras on their cars where you walk by. My car's got one. One of my cars got one. You walk by the car, it's going to take a picture of you. Oh, Cleveland and the building. We're going to run applause for Cleveland because my family, my mom and my dad, are both from Cleveland. They grew up in Cleveland Heights. Now, I'm not from Cleveland. I'm from Los Angeles. I was born out there, but my mom and dad are both from Cleveland. I feel like the job line, they couldn't even be truthful about the clock in and clock out. I brought that up because remember at first, the job told Kata's family that she worked the whole day. You remember that at first? Then it came back. Remember Kata's mom said she didn't find out till like the next day or something like that, that she didn't work the whole shift, that it was actually different. The thumbs up. Covina, California. Dang, you went from Covina, California to Cleveland. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, I spent time in the Orange County and Los Angeles area, back and forth between those two places. So I'm familiar with Covina. Plus, I'm sure Trace the tipster. I agree. The FBI, no, oh, yeah. Remember, the FBI was searching for Kata. They were helping with the search. So best believe the FBI is not just going to search and leave. They're involved because the police force asked the FBI to help out. You got to remember that. So if the FBI was helping with the search, they doing some things. Facial ID. Just going over some of your comments. We got a lot of comments in here. I love it. It takes FBI time to do everything. Y'all know who Big U is? I don't know if you guys know who Big U is. Big U was a big gangster out of California. One of the leaders, or I should say allegedly, leaders of the Crip organization, was big on social media. He's currently in prison right now for RICO. You know how long FBI was following and getting evidence on Big U for? Do you know how long they were following Big U and getting evidence? They have evidence on Big U from 2011, I believe they said. 2011. 2011, the FBI was combing through Big U's things. That is a long time. There's some FBI agents that probably retired in the middle of that and passed it on to the newest FBI agent. The Air Force is very technical. They're literally the brains of the military. This coming from an Iraq veteran. The Air Force is bad. That's and were you here on that? I was going to join the Air Force. That was why I moved to Colorado. Because I was going to join the Air Force. I was in Colorado Springs, and my mom was in the Air Force too. My mom spent time in the mountain in NORAD, so you probably know what NORAD is. My mom was intelligence in that mountain. She spent 6 years in the mountain, not seeing the daylight. And I was going to do the Air Force, but unfortunately, circumstances happened. I got in trouble. I started using my intelligence for the wrong reasons. And now I'm here talking to you guys, trying to break down these cases and use my intelligence for right. Yep, flock cameras. Back in, you know how those cameras started? I'll tell you how those cameras started. Those traffic cameras. Y'all remember in the hood? I don't know if every hood had them, but a lot of hoods had these cameras where they had them on the block, and then every once in a while you saw the blue light spinning, and they're like, "Oh, the blue light spinning. That means they're recording. Stop selling." Remember they put the cameras where everybody was selling the pharmaceuticals. That's where they put the cameras at, and supposedly they weren't recording all the time. Just when the blue light was spinning, the blue light spinning can't sell nothing. Kind of how it started it all. You been to Pikes Peak? Hope you didn't stumble over any bodies. There's a lot of them up there. A lot of them. You told the story about your precious cellmate and why he committed the crime he committed. Stay there. You're close. Wait. Which story? Let me know which story. So I'm catching up on all these. Hold on. Catching up on all these. Poor animal. Yeah, I'm almost finished catching up on these. Yeah, the dirt is still there. Dirt is going to be in the car. I was telling somebody earlier, if you go outside, try and burn dirt and see what happens to the dirt. Just try it. The dirt doesn't vanish. It's still there. You're gonna get rid of probably fingerprints, like say a rock or something like that. That has, but the DNA matter of that rock or dirt is still gonna be there, so they can still match it up. I wonder if the tipster tried to collect reward money. If the tipster is that informant, they probably could have, because informants do get paid. An informant in my case got money. Yes, let's get those likes up. Yeah, so yeah, what before I go, I'm gonna stay on here for another like 10, 15 minutes. What was the you said the story of my son? Because I told a few stories of some people I was in there with. So you said I was close on why he unalived the person, it was him or them. Oh, you talking about not this video? What I talked about in the video before? Are you talking about that? The person that I had in my cell that was really smart and spoke all those different languages? I think you're talking about that person. Okay, I told this story before. I had a cellmate, right? One of the smartest individuals I met in my life. This man was really smart. He spoke, first of all, I'll say he was mixed like me. He was half black, half white. He spoke Japanese, Spanish, Portuguese, and one of the dialects of Chinese. I think it was Mandarin. I can't remember. But he spoke all these different languages, and he was only like maybe 30 years old at the time. He wasn't even that old of a person. And he was married and had a wife, and she was from Japan. And they had two kids. And he was my cellmate. So come to find out, he was in there for unaliving a woman, and it was a pregnant woman that he was in there for. So this whole time, a lot of people are thinking, this is what people are thinking. They're thinking that he unalived her because maybe there was some love triangle, maybe that was his kid and he was trying to get rid of her. And when you're in jail, you don't go around asking people's business. You don't be like, hey, what you in there for? You don't do that. You'll get hurt for doing that stuff, right? So we were in there one night, and one night we start talking. And we talk every night. And he was very, like I say, he was very smart. And I felt like this guy, I could probably ask him and he won't get mad. So I asked him. And then he told me, and he said, well, the reason why I had to do this, he said, was because it wasn't the fact that it was a love triangle. He didn't even know the woman, barely knew her. He said he heard of her. That was it. Excuse me. But the woman was pretty much, if I remember correctly, was a witness or something like that. But the higher up person was like, you have to take her out or your family's on the line. So he chose her. And so his family can survive because of the people, whatever he was doing. And that was why he did what he did. And I asked him, I said, do you regret it? Do you regret because he was what he got? I can't remember exactly what he got. It wasn't life, but he ended up getting it pretty much was life because he got like 60 something years. I can't remember exactly what it was and how he got that. I think he took a plea. That's what it was. He didn't go to trial. He took a plea. But he took this plea and I asked him, do you regret that? He was like, I feel bad for what I had to do, but he goes, I don't regret putting my family first. That's tough. That is tough. In a situation like that, that is tough. And that's the story that she's talking about. Miss Dixon here is talking about that she wanted me to tell. Thank you, Dixon. You wasn't here for the other live, so thank you for being along. I'm not saying he was threatened, but it could be a possibility that, let's put it this way. Battery died on the camera. Uh. But yeah, I'm not saying he was threatened, but it's a possibility that it could have been for it. Let's say people were talking about today that this could have been a hired situation. Let's say he was hired, or could have been forced to hold his hand. But I can't remember the reason why I told that story, but it was dealing with this case. So Dixon, are you saying that that story I told with my cellmate is similar? You're saying that's similar to pretty much the Kada situation. Is that what you're saying? They also stumbled. Yeah, we did hear about. Remember the news brought that up. They stumbled upon another bone. Remember that? It was some regular person was like, "Oh, it was a bone," and they called the cops over, and the cop looked down like, "Hey, that looks like a bone." Remember? But they never said nothing else about that ever, and never came back out. Kind of just brushed off with the wind. Interesting. So is that so, Dixon? Is that the theory that you think? Do you think? Do you think Keon was forced or Keon had to do that? Is that why you're saying that? Like somebody made him do it? Because like I said, I mean, I gave all kind of theories before. If somebody made him do it, I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked. I said before, what if Kada was witness to something maybe she wasn't supposed to be witness to, or had knowledge of something she wasn't even supposed to know? Because we all can be witnesses to something or have knowledge of something and not realize that having that knowledge could be a threat. It can happen. I almost gave you a heart attack screaming, but they thought they kicked me off, huh? I wasn't paying attention to the battery in my camera. I was not paying attention. I was excited talking to you guys. Usually I pay attention, but I wasn't paying attention that time. If anybody's here, oh, man, welcome to Fugitive TV. Got a lot of people in the chat right now. We've been doing good tonight. When I got on this chat live tonight, I said I was gonna go here for about an hour. It's been an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes. I said I was gonna do an hour. But hey, we got to talking, discussing this and everything else. I disagree. I remember he just had a violent similar crime with his ex-girlfriend. Now, even though he had violent similar ones, I'm a firm believer that I think that's the only ones he got caught. We're not thinking about other people he could have did something to and just didn't get caught. Just like if you think about it, it didn't start there. Keon King got kicked out of high school. He supposedly went to a private school. Somebody told me that school was $10,000 a year to go to. And he got kicked out for flashing a knife at a teacher at 17 years old. So Keon already had a past of doing things to people. So I think he was always doing stuff. He just got caught. I know Kata's father. I know Kata's father a lot, and all I can say is you're the most accurate when it comes to the case. Thank you, thank you. You don't have to reveal too much information, um, to keep, you know, yourself safe, any charge or something like that. Because even if I know too much information, even if I know, let's say I know exactly who did it, I'm not gonna come online and I'm not gonna tell you guys. I'm just gonna be facts honest with you. If I know exactly who did something, I am not gonna come on here and I'm not gonna tell you guys, be like, hey, he did such. I'm not gonna do that. If the cops don't know, I'm probably gonna tell them, and then once it become public, then tell you guys. But if I know any information that could put anybody in danger or anything like that, I'm not going to do that. That's not my style. I really appreciate everyone tonight. Please stay prayed up, safe. Good night, Fugitive TV. I enjoy your channel and concern of Kada Scott, trying to get justice for. Thank you so much for spending your lovely evening with me. Thank you. Thank you, Sasha. Yes. On the East Coast time, it is late right now. It is 12:40 at night. Well, for some of us, it's late. Not for me. I'd be up to 3 in the morning. I've been saying for a while this week reeks of retribution. And it could be. You still think the boyfriend. A lot of people do. A lot of people still think the boyfriend. Or sorry, some people say it's not really the boyfriend, but the person she went on the dates with. Let's put it that way. Did we find out if Keon was associated? No. So there is a bunch of speculation. There's speculation on that, but there's no concrete that can be found if they know each other or anything like that. What I am finding though is a lot of people in these neighborhoods do know each other. He's a spoiled narcissist. Daddy bailing him out. He needs to be held accountable. He's got to be coming from something if he was afford to go to a $10,000 school. Somebody has something. Miss Dixon, thank you so much. And I appreciate you for even joining my channel, giving me the time of day because there's a million other channels out there that you could be watching right now. And I appreciate that you're watching me. You should talk to the Greenbergs. Their daughter, Ellen Greenberg, supposed to be. Yes. User SG1V. I did a video on Ellen last week. I actually just did a video on her, and I'm going to be doing a part 2. I did a video on Ellen. For you guys who don't know, Ellen is Greenberg's from Philly too. Happened in 2011. They found her with 20 poke wounds. Her fiance found her, I should say, and they ruled it that she unalived herself, even though she had 10 of the wounds in her back. And till this day, her family's trying to seek justice. I did a deep dive on her fiance and her fiance's family in a video last week. I found out that that his family is connected to the mafia, that his family is also connected to Josh Shapiro. I found a lot of things going on with the fiance side of the family. I just watched the Hulu special on it. I shouldn't lie to you guys. I watched 2 episodes. The 3rd episode I didn't even want to watch because that special was it was bull. It was BS. It was BS. I'm not even an investigator or detective, and for me doing my little quick research on it, it was BS. That whole episode was BS. All I felt like they was doing was blaming Ellen for her mental issues. Almost like victim blaming is what I kind of looked at that story. His daddy has ties. I believe he does, and we all want to know what these ties are. But yeah, Ellen Greenberg, if you guys don't know about the Ellen Greenberg story, just type it into Google or YouTube. Check it out because that happened in Philly too. And like I said, that happened in 2011. And just to give you a quick summary of what I just said, the medical examiner examined her body and ruled that it was a homicide. But law enforcement, the detective, ruled it was that she unalived herself. A second medical examiner came in and said, no, it's a homicide. So you have medical examiners butting with law enforcement. So then what happened was all the powers to be got into a meeting, even some politicians got into a meeting and then came out that closed door meeting and said and ruled it, no, she unalived herself. And what makes it even weirder is after they took her body out the apartment, the fiance's uncle came down. The uncle's the one with all the connections. Took every electronical device out of the apartment. Laptops, everything. Took it out. And he, if you look it up, was a high-powered attorney in Philadelphia. This man was the attorney's attorney. He defended judges and attorneys and politicians when they got caught for doing something crooked. He's even associated with the whole Kids for Cash scandal that happened in Philadelphia, where judges were sentencing kids on minor offenses, but to harsh punishments and sending them to private jails. And the judges in returns got kickback. Two judges got $2.8 million for doing this, sending kids to private jails on a minor offense, but on a harsh punishment. And her fiance was all connected to that. Hulu did not mention anything about that, not once. They blamed it on Ellen and her mental health. He clearly has a pattern of violence. They say criminals elevate in their crime. Maybe she was his first. You know what? Let's talk about that real quick. Criminals elevate in their crime. That is some fact. I'm proof that is some fact, all right? I managed to be on a run for 15 years. It was not easy whatsoever. It was hard. But in order to maintain that, and the only reason why it lasted 15 years, because I pretty much turned myself in. But I probably could have still been gone to this day, if probably, but I turned myself in. But I had to elevate all the time in order to, I couldn't get comfortable. People get comfortable, and that's when they get caught. People think about it, people who sell stuff on the corner, pharmaceuticals, right? They're nervous at first. Then they get away with selling some things, and they're like, "Oh, this is my block, whatever." Now they're comfortable. They're like, "Oh, I'm comfortable," and they don't even realize somebody's watching when I get busted. So I had to not get comfortable in order to not get caught. So you have some truth with that. Is this his first unaliving? That part, I don't know. Because to be honest with you, I wouldn't be shocked if he did it before. And the only reason why he got caught this time, or I should say why all this is done, because of who he did it to. He did it to Kada Scott. Kada Scott was an individual going to Penn State. Kada Scott had something going for her. Now, if you would have did this to, let's say, and I don't want to be harsh, but he did this to somebody who their family didn't care as much about them. They were some junkie, or something like that. He did it and dumped them off somewhere. It wouldn't have got national news coverage. They probably would have found the person if they found them. I'm like, oh, another one bites the dust, brush it under the rug, and keep going. That is just the reality of life. And it's sad, but it's true in the state we live in and a lot of these cities and all these police forces. They got so much going on that they'll pick and choose of which ones they want to figure out what's important and what's not. I didn't even know she had a gold casket. Wow. Wow. Yeah, those are expensive. Oh, the pageant. Yes, maybe the pageant paid for that. Or they, donated money. They probably had somebody donate money for that. Probably what it was. And around the way, yeah. There's so many people that get I know I know a person right now. Right now. And I knew this person personally. They live an hour north of me. She has been missing since 2000 and I think maybe 15. Yeah, almost 10 years. Yeah, 10 years now, something like that. She's been missing. She has not made no national coverage. She has not made anything, all because of her lifestyle. Okay? She was heavy into drugs. She was working as a dancer in the clubs. Not too much family around. So it never got national attention because of, the lifestyle she was living. Now, if she was in college, maybe her family had money, or she was getting straight A's, she was trying to be Miss America herself, then she probably would got attention. Why do I think she got in the car with him? Here's a question that a lot of people ask, right? I try and put myself into her shoes. She she knows she's meeting somebody outside because they're on the phone. She goes outside, and to be honest with you, I don't think the police are telling us like how in the documents they had the text messages and all that. No way the police is telling us the full conversations. They're not telling us the full conversations of what happened in these texts or calls. They're not telling us. So she's at work. She clocks in, right? And she leaves 20 minutes later or 30 minutes later. So if she just clocks into work, and you got to think this is a new job. She's only been there 2 weeks. So if she just clocks in, I'm thinking she's going outside to do something real quick. Okay? She's not trying to leave or not trying to do anything like that. She's trying to go outside maybe to do something real quick and come back in because she just got to work. Just got there. Well, now what could she be doing to go outside real quick? Could she be going out there to smoke something? No fault in anybody who smokes. You shouldn't be unalive for that, right? Everybody was young. Everybody smoked at one point, things like that. Was she going out to smoke something? Hey, I'm pulling up right now. I got this. I got this. You want to light it up with me? Sure, let's do this real quick. A lot of times you get in the car, you blow a little, you leave. All y'all probably that go to work right now, I'm pretty sure at least one of y'all in this chat has a coworker that goes to smoke at lunchtime or break. And I'm talking about the good green stuff, not cigarettes, and come back. And they put on that cologne thinking they can cover the smell, but they don't. One of y'all in this chat got one of those as your coworkers. And it don't mean you don't like the coworker. Don't mean they're a bad person like that, but that's what they do. Now, I'm not saying that's what she did, but I'm thinking of reasons why she went outside real quick and possibly got in the car. So that could be a reason. Another reason was it some sort of transaction? If you're making, let's say, if he's the pharmaceutical person and it was some sort of transaction, nickel and diamond, a lot of times you get inside the car to make that transaction. A lot of times you do, especially if you know the person. If you know the person, usually you get inside the car. You make a transaction, you leave, if that's the case. Another thing could be what some people brought up. Was she forced? The forced part is very difficult. I'm going to give you one scenario that everybody has probably thought about when it comes to the force, okay? She goes to the car, somebody's inside the car, right? Whether it's Keon and another person. And they're holding up something to her saying, get in the car now. And she has no choice. She's got something up to her, right? She's got a weapon to her face. She gets in the car, closes the door. Right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of you thought about that. Now, I'm one of the first people on YouTube, I should say, to report about Kada Scott. And because I think I reported about her like around the 7th or 6th or something like that. Like a week before Keon even got arrested, one of my first videos. And in one of my first videos, I pull up a Google map of where she worked at. And I placed that little man on Google Map, the street, showed the houses across the street, there's trees, all kind of stuff, right? I showed it all on one of my first videos. The second way, if it was a force, how she could have got forced in, you gotta remember, there was no so-called cameras in the front of this building, right? She walks outside the door. She goes up to the car. Maybe she does see Keon driving, and she knows Keon, right? But then what if somebody comes up from behind her because they're hiding in one of those bushes or trees that's right in front of her workplace where there's no camera? Then forces her to get in, and she gets in. That's a theory that a lot of people don't think about. Of somebody coming from behind her and forcing her to get in that car. Because now she can't run nowhere. Because if somebody's in the car Think about this. If somebody's sitting in that car and they're sitting in behind that steering wheel, right? Even if somebody's in that back seat and you walk up to the car and they point something at you, hey, you gotta get in the car. You gotta open the car door up. You gotta put your weapon away, probably. Then they gotta get in the car. They have a chance. They can run. She can run, run back. But if she goes to the car, she's like, "Hey, Keon," and somebody comes up behind her, she can't run. And most people aren't going to scream when that happens. Yes, ambush. Ambush, ambush, ambush. And I thought about that. Now, I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just putting my head in a criminal mind state. And let's say if I was to do something like that, if I was, that's how I would do it. Because I don't want the victim to risk running back inside and telling. Because that's what you're doing. You're risking. Think about it. This is a two-door car. It's not a four-door. It's a two-door, little small Hyundai Accent, right? There's only one window that rolls down in the first place. One window. This window right here. Imagine I'm in a car. I got the one window. That's it. And I got my hand on the steering wheel. If it was just me and I go like this to you and I pull something up to you and you at the window, you can run back and there's really no back window for me to even do anything. So if somebody's even in the back seat, what they gonna do? You have a great chance of running back. But if somebody comes up from behind you, get in the car. What are you gonna do? Get in the car? Nothing to do. Maybe try and wrestle them to the ground if you want to. What if she went outside to give him a payment? And I firmly believe that there was some sort of transaction or payment issue involved. And it might not even been with her. It could have been somebody associated with her. Could have been either somebody she went on a date with, could be a family member, could be any of that. And she happened just to be the one they targeted. I don't know. Said it was food. Hey, you know what? It's funny. It's still like that with me. Food would get me out the house in a heartbeat. Give me some good food. I've driven to New Orleans twice just to eat. So yeah, I get it. Say I worked at a nursing home. All right. Sugar Bear says no one was in. I worked in a nursing home, door locked at 7 p.m. and the nurse had to buzz you in on a ward clerk. And the doors had codes. Now, does your nursing home have cameras in the front? And the reason why I'm asking this is because in a lot of nursing homes, or they say she worked at her place was called assistant living, right? It was called assistant living, meaning these people live there. They need some sort of assistance. Um, she started work, I guess, during shift change. So during shift change, if I'm correct, you also have to maybe give update information, maybe of the people who live there. Maybe you have to look at charts before to see whoever got medicine or needs to get medicine or needs to get their stuff. Maybe even make sure certain people are tucked in their bed, just things of that nature, right? Make sure people aren't walking and wandering down the hallways and getting lost, because especially ones with Alzheimer's, stuff like that. And safety precautions, like you said, the lock on that front door, just in case one of them doesn't lose their mind and get sick and walk out the front door, and now they're walking down the street. And here in Florida, you have a lot of assistant living, a lot of retirement homes, and you have what is called a silver tag alert. A lot of them walk off somewhere and now it's silver tag because we don't know where Grandpa Eddie's at or whatever. Happens a lot. It baffled me this place, first of all, didn't have a camera in the front, just in case one of these people walked out. They walk out, how you know where they went? So it baffled me on that. And then a lot of these places have some sort of clerk at the front. Matter of fact, y'all just struck my memory. You just struck my memory. I went to the Facebook page of that assisted living place that she worked at. And if you scroll down on the timeline, there is a front desk and somebody's working there. This story did get attention fast. Because, like I said, I remember when I first covered it, I covered this on the 6th or 7th. I can't remember. But I want to say I was one of the first on YouTube to cover this. And I remember a lot of people asking me in the comments who was Kada or something like that. I just remember that. And then, like 2 days later, just bam. That scenario makes a lot of sense. Annette Jones. Sasha says 100. I used to have them, my boyfriend, to call and fake as a relative with an emergency and clock out. Remind me never to hire you for any of my businesses. I'm playing with you. Who was the man that was selling the car on Facebook? You talking about Mr. Albert Keith, who I think took his Facebook down because everybody was hounding him? I think that's the same Albert Hayes that's on the dock. Yep, there was two cars. Two people showed up in his car. Both of them got out, and then one person popped out the Hyundai. I could tell you all this. Keon made a fake page the next day as if he was Kada and sent a message saying, I'm okay. I just needed time away. This guy, if that's real, and he made a fake page, was it Facebook or Instagram? And he did that on his phone. Your phone leaves footprints. Wow. So that means if that's true, that's in the evidence locker. That's another thing that ties him if that's true. I don't know if he went to the funeral. I was busy all day Saturday. Oh my God, I was busy nonstop. So the whole weekend, pretty much, I was busy. The PD never mentioned her purse. You're right. They really never did. They mentioned everything else, her electronics, her phone, her iPad, but they never mentioned her purse. I don't think he probably would have showed up to the funeral anyway. It probably would have been a bad look for that guy to show up to the funeral, to be honest with you, since a lot of people are pointing fingers at him. If I was him, I wouldn't have showed up if people are pointing fingers at me. Man, I hope all this stuff comes out in trial too, if there's a trial. If there's no, the thing about it is, if this guy takes a plea, we're not going to know until we start submitting and paying for the paperwork. I think there were cameras, but lied to protect the clients. This could be a possibility. Now, I know on Google Maps, when I looked at the front, I didn't see any cameras, but that does not mean that there could be a hidden camera somewhere. Could be a possibility because, like I said, what if one of those people walked out that lived there, just happened to walk out, Now they don't know where they went. Just reading some of your comments. I want to say thank you guys for even coming in. This is the first time I've called a live. First time you called a live. Okay. Yeah, I don't do lives much because I don't ever have a lot of time. But what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start doing at least 2 lives a week. Okay. I'm gonna start doing at least 2 lives a week, and then I'm gonna put them on my TikTok, and then I'm gonna put like on my little YouTube community and let you know what time I'm gonna be on, things like that. So I'm gonna start doing at least two a week. Probably I'm gonna do one maybe on Monday and then maybe on Friday, like Monday, so it can wrap up the weekend what happened, and then another one on Friday, so we can wrap up the week of what happened, And then on lives we could talk about all the cases because as you guys see, I don't just do Kada Scott. You know, I'm dwelling in the 5, 6 cases at the same time. So I'm putting out one video a day, sometimes 2 videos a day. It just all depends. Like I put out a video earlier about Melody Busby, so or Buzzard, I mean. Instagram. What is my Instagram? Actually, if you look at Fugitive TV, I should pop up. You'll see it under my DJ name. My DJ name is Case Blaze because I'm a DJ, hence the DJ gear. It's right there or whatever. You'll see videos of me DJing like concerts, like I DJ Maya's concert, Cassidy. I even did a bad boy party. I'm not lying either. I have a picture of me and Stevie J up on the Instagram. Dang, you're still on? Yes, I am still here. These people wouldn't let me leave. Yes, please send it to me. Please send it to me. Send it to my email or Instagram, whatever you want to do. Email would be Marcel, Marcl at raymarcel.com. Marcl at raymarcel.com. You can send it to my Instagram too. Like I say, you can look up on the Fugitive TV on the Instagram. You're going to see this right here. I'll show you. Uh, uh, uh. As soon as my phone wants to act full. Oh, don't want to. There we go. Fugitive TV, K Stop Blaze. All right. So go ahead and send it on there. I'm late. What is the update? Did you just join in? Said there is no way there's no cameras in that place. I said that's odd, man. That is so odd. They gotta have cameras in assisted living. It's assisted living. A lot of times you have people there who need assistance to live. They need help. And on some of these people will have Alzheimer's and any other thing you think of to where maybe they get up, wander off, and might wander out. Like I said, here in Florida, we have so many assisted living places, so many. And it is very common for your Uncle Eddie to leave one of these places or jump in the car and you see an alert on your phone here it's everywhere in Florida. Everywhere it happens. And all these places here got camera because they got to make sure they keep track of Uncle Eddie if he leaves. There, I guess they don't care about Uncle Eddie. You know my real name now. Oh, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Actually, it's on my TikTok. I think it's on my TikTok. It's on the video. One of the videos I have pinned, the where it shows my journey or whatever. It should be on there. The one where I have pinned where it shows me, my son. What do you think about Bree, Kata's aunt, the medium? Um, I've watched some of the stuff she say, I mean, become true. So I can't sit here and say that everything or anything, everything's been false because some of the stuff she did say became true. So I can't say that. But I want to say thank you guys. It's already 1:10 in the morning. I've been here for like 2 hours. My battery's about to die again. All right. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to keep this up posted so you guys can go back and watch it. All right. Thanks everybody for joining in. I'm probably gonna go on TikTok right now and look at some of my messages and things like that and everything else. Okay. Everybody send me everything you want. Email Marcel, Marcel, Marcel at raymarcel.com. Or like I said, TikTok, Fugitive TV, Instagram, search Fugitive TV. It'll come up under Fugitive TV or Case Blaze because that's my DJ name. Whatever you want, you guys want. Make sure you guys have a good night. All right.